What happens when AI stops being a chatbot and starts helping knock down long-standing math problems? That is one of the more surprising stories making the rounds today. Welcome to the Automated Daily, Hacker News Edition, the podcast created by generative AI. It is July 21st, 2026, and I'm Trent Teller. Today we're looking at AI's growing role in research, why open models from China are changing the economics of the field, a clever trick for making leaner AI systems run efficiently, a rethink of how America measures home ownership, and a very satisfying hardware milestone involving Doom. This episode is brought to you by 11 Labs. 11 Labs lets you discover the future of AI audio with cutting-edge voice technology. Find the link in the episode notes. Let's start with AI and mathematics. A widely discussed post argues that AI-assisted breakthroughs in math are moving from novelty to something much more serious. The big shift is not just that language models can suggest ideas, but that some of those ideas are being formalized and checked with proof tools like Lean. In a few cases, AI-generated counterexamples have reportedly challenged long open questions, including one especially famous conjecture that has been around for roughly a century. Why this matters is simple. If more mathematical work can be turned into formally checkable objects, then trust in machine-generated results no longer depends entirely on intuition or reputation. It could change how research is verified and who gets to contribute. Staying with AI, another notable discussion looks at the economics rather than the capabilities. The argument is that the market is starting to behave less like a winner-take-all moonshot and more like a normal industry where cost, efficiency, and pricing power matter again. Chinese open-weight models are a big part of that story. They may be inexpensive to access, but they are not free to run, and the real competition is shifting towards who can deliver useful results at the lowest cost. That puts pressure on frontier labs that built their advantage around scarcity and premium access. The more important takeaway is that AI may be moving towards commoditization faster than some expected, with the biggest real policy concerns landing around dependency, infrastructure, and cybersecurity, rather than pure model prestige. There's also a smaller but important technical story connected to that same trend. A post about packing ternary values into bytes shows how seemingly narrow optimization work can have outsized impact on AI deployment. The idea is to store 3 state values very compactly while still unpacking them quickly on modern chips. That is especially relevant for lighter weight models like BitNet-style systems, where memory efficiency can make the difference between something that is practical and something that stays in the lab. The reason this matters beyond the math trick is that AI progress is increasingly about efficiency, not just bigger models. If you can cut memory use without slowing inference too much, you widen the range of devices and workloads that can actually use these systems.
Outside of AI, one of the most interesting public policy items today comes from the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. The bank is proposing a new measure of home ownership called the Homeowners to Population Ratio, or HPOP. The point is that the headline home ownership rate most people hear does not really describe how many adults own homes. It describes housing units. Using the new metric, the share of U.S. adults who are actually homeowners looks meaningfully lower than the traditional number suggests, and the gap is especially noticeable for younger adults. Why that matters is that housing debates often shape policy around affordability, family formation, and wealth building. If the baseline statistic is off, then the public conversation may be off as well. And finally, a story that is pure hacker energy. A hardware team managed to run Doom on a CPU they built themselves. Not just a software emulator or a novelty port, but a custom processor design brought to life on an FPGA and pushed far enough to run a real game in real time. The interesting part is not only that it worked, but what it took to get there. Memory bottlenecks, cache behavior, timing issues, and the kind of subtle bugs that appear when hardware and software expectations do not line up. It is a reminder that even a decades-old game becomes a serious systems challenge when you own the entire stack. And that is exactly why people love these projects. They turn computing history into a hands-on lesson in how complex modern machines really are. Thanks to our sponsor, SurveyMonkey. Don't just know what happened, know why. SurveyMonkey can help you unlock insights by combining feedback with operational data to get vital context. Find the link in the episode notes. That's the roundup for today. From AI entering more formal parts of mathematics to the economics of open models. From housing metrics to custom silicon running classic games. The common thread is that the details behind the headlines still matter. Thanks for listening to the Automated Daily, Hacker News Edition. I'm Trent Teller. Links to all stories can be found in the episode notes.